our podcast, soon to be named. I am Megan. This is...
I'm Loren.
And we are here today with Ryan Lockard from Specialty Athletics. I am so excited that you're here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, guys.
So Specialty Athletics is the only personal training for individuals with special needs in Portland. Ryan is the president of the Autism Society of Oregon's Board of Directors, accredited by the National Strength and Conditioning. Ryan has worked with individuals with special needs since 2007.
Yeah.
Long time. Has over 10,000 hours of one-on-one instruction working with individuals with various special needs, and is just overall an amazing human being.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people in Portland. So.
I appreciate that,
You
guys.
just put a smile on everybody's face every time we
just,
see you.
Every time we come to visit you at your gym, I'm just amazed at how much heart it takes to do what you do. And it's just it just fills me with happiness every time we come there.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate that, guys.
So fun.
Yeah.
So Ryan, tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got into fitness and personal training to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I started kind of in the field in 2007. Mm-hmm. And really what happened was I was playing football at Lewis and Clark College, and I tore my ACL playing my senior year. And that actually happened in 2006.
Ooh, senior year.
Senior year. So luckily I did it early enough in the season, so I was able to get a medical red shirt. So I was able to play one more year and have one more year of eligibility. So
cool.
Fast forward to 2007, I had one more year of eligibility, left myself 2 credits short of graduation, and I was looking for a 2-credit class that, that I could still play ball and actually learn something from as well. So in the summertime, I got a job working with a 13-year-old boy with autism as his one-on-one aide, and that was kind of my aha moment with all the stuff that came about. So that, at that time I had no idea how it really changed my life for the better moving forward. But it was a part-time job that was going to turn into a full-time job after I graduated. But it turned into an independent study where I was working with Ben during the day, playing football, and then I wrote a paper on autism at the end of the term. And that was my 2 credits. So that was my last term of college. During that time, I really saw the need for fitness and saw that the expectations for him were set lower than his peers. Mm-hmm. And for no real reason. As far as physically, he was able to do everything. So that's kind of what got the wheels turning in my head about creating something like what we did with specialty athletic training. But it wasn't until fast forward to 2012 until we actually got founded as an LLC founded specialty athletic training.
What did you do between 2007 and 2012? Were you doing regular personal training?
No. So in 2007 did the independent study. And then once I graduated, that part-time job turned into a full-time job working with Ben. That was really when, like I said, when I saw that, during PE, he was only expected to run 2 laps around the gym, and his peers had to run 4 laps around the gym. And there was well, what's going on? There's no reason why you couldn't finish those 4 laps. Mm-hmm. But no one ever explained to him why your body sweats. So more I learned about autism, more I learned about Ben, that was the trigger. He didn't like to run because he didn't like to sweat because it freaked him out. No one ever explained to him why your body sweats.
Right.
So we started doing other things, and he started verbalizing, Ryan, my heart feels like it's coming out of my chest, or my legs, they feel weak. So it was a big sensory deal. So that part-time job turned into a full-time job, worked with him for another year, and then was also coaching football at Lewis and Clark College. And then had the opportunity to go play football in France over there for 6 months.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, so I played football over in France for 6 months. Came back, the guy I trained didn't work out, so the family asked me back to work with Ben again, and so I was doing that and coaching football. And so the football seasons overseas are in the springtime traditionally, or more likely. And so we went there and came back, worked with Ben again, coached at Lewis and Clark, and then I went to Denmark to play football for another 4 to 5 months. Yeah.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
Wait, what position did you play?
So I played linebacker. So I
Okay.
played linebacker, came back. Same thing happened. For some reason, the guy didn't work out. So the family asked me back again, coached at Lewis and Clark, and then I went to play in Poland. So that was really at that time in your life too, early 20s when you just graduated college, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. In 2007, the economy took a nosedive. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So I took advantage of being able to be paid and take some vacation playing football overseas. So I went to Poland. Right before I left, I met my now wife, Mary, and she came to visit and came back and knew I wasn't going to go back to Europe anymore because I was more grounded in the Portland area. Mm-hmm. The family, the guy that I trained actually finally worked out, which was great. for the family, bad for me because didn't have a job then besides coaching at Lewis and Clark.
Right.
But I found a job working with another family and then also another behavioral center. And during that time, in one of my interviews, he said, Ryan, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Typical interview question, right? Like, hey, tell us about yourself. Where's your future at? And it wasn't, I said, well, not working as a one-to-one therapist with these kids. As much as I love the kids, no matter how much you love someone, if you work 8 hours full time with them, it's going to wear on both of you, not just you, it's going to wear on both of you in a negative way. And so that's kind of where I said, I have this idea about fitness. No one else is doing it in the nation or anywhere else that I can see. At least not the way I wanted to scale it and like the way I wanted to do it. And they said, well, let us know how we can help you. And so they had a mom that was a tutor for kids with ADD and ADHD that use exercise as a means to help kids focus during, when they need a little break. And so I met with her for coffee, and that she said, I might have a client for you. And that client never panned out, but it was enough for me to form the LLC. And that was in June 12th of 2012. So 6 years ago, we just did the 6-year anniversary.
Wow.
And so since then we've worked with kids and adults so youngest has been 3, oldest has been 63. So truly the lifespan.
Wow.
And, multiple diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. We've been able to work with over 300 different individuals in the Portland and Vancouver area. And so now I'm excited to be here.
And you're one of the very few.
Very few. So
is there anyone else like
Still.
you in Portland, Vancouver, Washington, Oregon?
I mean, with social media, you're seeing a lot more people pop up everywhere, to be honest with you, whether it's in the Portland area, whether it's Southern California, East Coast. You're seeing a lot more people doing what we're trying to start, what we're doing. It's very common if you're a personal trainer and a client, you had a parent come to you that you typically train and say, hey, I have a daughter or son with some sort of diagnosis, that you'd be open to training them. You might not have the experience training them, but you'd be open to seeing them and training and working through it. We're the only ones exclusively training individuals with special needs, especially at the scale that we're doing it.
And talk to us. So what kind of special needs do you work with? All over the board. Everyone.
ADD?
Yeah. So we've left it pretty broad for a reason. Most of the clients have had a negative experience with exercise in the past for several different reasons. And so our main thing is making it fun for them. So autism has been our main diagnosis that we work with. Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, Prader-Williams syndrome. We've had some clients that have been visually impaired. We haven't had any with any amputees or limb deformities. So it's been primarily neurological disabilities.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And like, so you're the only one in this area doing it, right? Like, how did you even think about this? Like becoming a business. You didn't even have a client, and you started the company. That was a pretty ballsy move.
I had one. I had one that I knew, Ben. So Ben.
Do you still work with Ben?
I see Ben's like a little brother. So I see
That's
Ben
awesome.
4 days a
great.
week. He's the one that the logo's designed after. So my wife designed the logo after Ben.
Cool.
So he actually just turned 24. And then so we actually founded the company the day right before his birthday. So his birthday's June 13th. And actually a funny story is I did the paperwork online June 12th, but actually didn't register until the 13th. So if you actually go to look up when we registered, it's probably gonna say June 13th, which is actually Ben's birthday, so that's pretty cool as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's perfect.
But yeah, so really just saw the need with him, and really thought that there's a giant need out there. It's a huge population that people forget about, and really the way I saw it is there's a lot of services for the younger kids. So a lot of times when you turn 13 or 14 years old, that's really at the age where the services kind of drop. For those kids and for the teenagers. Yeah.
And then what happens? They're just kind of lumped into everyone else?
No, just different things happen for a variety of reasons. So a lot of our clients go to occupational therapy and they quote unquote graduate or kind of grow out of that at a certain point and they can't see them anymore. A lot of them will go to physical therapy. But that's not very generalized, right? If you think about if you yourself goes to the physical therapist, right? You don't always have that much fun. You don't always do the exercises when you go back home.
Oh, heck no.
Right? So it's like really trying to figure that piece out. We're like, hey, it's like, you're going to come work out. You're going to have a great time. And it's not in a clinical setting. And that's the biggest thing is, really building up the self-esteem and self-confidence and making it where it's something fun that they look forward to doing and then going home and transitioning to where they want to go and, go for walks with their family or take their dogs for a walk or go hiking or putting their parents through a workout, that kind of stuff.
Right. And really bettering their health. At what point did you hire your first trainer outside of yourself?
Well, that's a great question. So at first we actually, the model I had was really dependent on student volunteers from Lewis and Clark.
Oh, okay.
So I had a very, I had a good model that way where I was able to kind of get business going without the traditional overhead of paying for an actual employee with the student volunteers. So we actually still do student internships for colleges, and they are able to get student or college credit for those internships and stuff like that. So it's been awesome that way. Our first hired employee was actually one of my first interns once he graduated college, and I want to say that was in 2014, 2015, around that time. Year or two before or after, probably after. But yeah, so at first I was the one doing everything. I was driving, I drive out to St. Helens, I drive up to Camas, I was driving everywhere to find a client. And when, then it finally got to the point where everyone was coming to us at Lewis and Clark. And then slowly but surely, Vancouver had a need, and they didn't want to drive across the river all the time.
Right.
So now we're up there full time.
Yep.
And then, kind of now we got a lot of people from Hillsborough saying, hey, what about us? We're tired of driving to see you guys during the weekends, or we love to drive you guys during the weekends. We also love to see you during the week, but traffic's terrible on, on 26, and there's no way we can get over there. So yes, now we're in Hillsborough.
I know. Now you're everywhere, and every facility that you guys have is beautiful. I mean, Lewis and Clark is amazing. I mean, and you're working out with the football team, which is awesome and so cool to see everybody in there. So walk us through kind of the process when starting to work with you, and what would your clients expect? Yeah.
So I think one of the big things is that it's very common just for parents in general, not even parents for individual special needs, but just parents in general, to really talk about their kid when their kid's present, like they're not there, right? So what I do is we always have a free consultation, which is really more of a meet and greet for the parent and the child or their client to come in for a visit, really meet with me, see the facilities, but we keep everything positive. So everything's upbeat, very positive. It kind of gives me a chance to get to know them, kind of find out what their interests are. So before that happens, I talk to the parent on the phone and kind of get the nitty gritty, say, hey, tell me a little bit about your kid. This is how we do things. I'd rather get everything out of the way now. Tell me his challenges, what their strengths are, what their interests are. That way, when they come in, everything's positive. Yep. So that's kind of how it really starts, what to kind of expect. They come in, see the facility, and we kind of schedule it from there. They'll work. It's primarily 1-to-1. In Portland and all the Oregon locations are primarily 1-to-1. Vancouver's a little bit different, and it's more small group based. Okay.
And so with your clients, in terms of like programming, do you start them off with 3 days a week? Do you have a certain what's your go-to?
So we always make the recommendation that depending on their age, as far as what the CDC recommends, right? So which is like for the kids is 60 minutes a day. Right. We just help supplement that, right? Okay. So understanding from a financial aspect that most of our clients seeing us 5 days a week would be a lot of money. Just seeing any kind of professional 5 days a week is gonna be a lot of money. And we don't take insurance, so that's the other thing. So everything's private pay. So we understand that they're also seeing a lot of other, they're seeing their OT, they're seeing their PT, they're seeing their speech path, they're seeing a lot of other professionals. So we understand the financial burden could also take on families too. So we're like, let us guide you, and hopefully where you guys are able to do stuff at home as well. So on average, we have clients that see us twice a week. Okay. We do have clients that see us once a week, but we also have clients that see us up to 5 days a week. But yeah, so on average, twice a week though.
Is there any financial services to help with working with you guys?
So yes and no. So I guess that's kind of the cop-out answer in that regard. But yeah, so we don't take insurance, but if they have a flexible spending account, that's been one kind of loophole, I guess, not even loophole, but just one way that the parents are able to get reimbursed for their services through their flexible spending accounts. Washington, they're able to use some state funding, which is kind of why it's more small group based up in Washington, but why it's also private pay down in Oregon, because we're not set up the same way. But yeah.
And what kind of, like when you're working out with them, that stuck with me what you said, like they're treating them differently in PE.
Right.
2 laps versus 4 laps. What kind of stuff do you have them going through? Are you just pumping out bench, just making Hercules.
Just making people
Or
huge.
just I mean, it can be anything.
It really could. So
fitness is just playing frisbee.
Right.
You
So
know?
that's the
Like,
thing,
it
is
could be
really
anything.
tailoring it to each individual, right? So I want to find out what Megan likes doing if we're working with Megan, and really building things off of what
Yep.
your interests are. So if we're doing something that you already like, or tailoring it to your interests, you're more
Gotcha.
likely to actually have fun and enjoy it and kind of go with it, right? So
Right.
what her program would look like is completely different than something that I would do with you, right? But I also say that it's something that you should be doing anyway with
Yes.
any
With any
training,
of your-
right? With anyone. If
Yeah.
I was training you guys or our clients, that intake it's similar. It's the same, right? Everyone has the needs analysis, and you go through all that kind of stuff. Their needs might be a little slightly different than yours. They're gonna have different goals. They might have the same goals, and then you build a program based on that. So we don't do any. I would say most of our stuff is really lightweight, body weight stuff, building them up, all progression based. We do a lot of stuff with medicine balls and kettlebells and dumbbells more than actually a straight barbell. But at the same time, like, we change things up a little bit. So the biggest modifications that we would do, is if we're doing an exercise, kind of naming it after, if they're into Minecraft or they're into like
Yes.
superheroes or whatever, we'll name the exercises based on their interests.
Right.
And then we also give them a lot of input on what they do. So, no one likes to really go to a drill sergeant. Sometimes people do, right? But typically our clients don't. So I'm like, hey, Megan, like, today, here's a workout. Typically it's a full body workout, especially when they're seeing us once or twice a week. And like, okay, Megan, we're going to do 2 leg exercises today, and kind of help guide you towards what exercise you can choose. So I'll give you 4 options, and you choose 2 of those, right? And then kind of do that for all the major body parts, right? So we usually go legs, chest, back, and then do some auxiliary work, some core work after our warm up, and then we'll do a cool down, and that's it. So the cool down will also change. The warm ups will change based on each client, based on what they want to do. We might be out on the track walking.
Right.
There's a hike, that we might do. Like, there's a little park outside of Lewis and Clark that we might go hike down to. Really
gorgeous
dependent.
up there,
Oh,
too.
it's awesome. It's always one of the top 5 most beautiful campuses in the nation. So
Yeah.
even walking around campus is beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really a great facility.
So it's just one of those things where we really tailor it towards each individual, which actually I feel like any program should be.
So talk to us more about the benefits of exercising and what you have seen change in their lives once they get on an exercise regime with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff's, the weight loss and the building the muscle and that kind of stuff, and that's kind of the very general knowledge of what's going to happen if you start exercising, right? And then there's a lot of the neurological pieces that go on to it. We have several clients, or especially at the very beginning, where we'd have parents come in like, Ryan, little Jimmy runs funny. And I'm like, okay, well, how often does he run? I'm like, well, he doesn't, because he runs funny. I'm like, well, he needs practice. How do you expect him to get better
Right.
without that practice, right?
Yeah.
It might look ugly at the beginning, but he just needs that repetition to get all those neurological pathways and stuff firing, and those motor neurons getting those, everything just going.
Yeah.
And the more you practice, the more repetition you get, the better it's going to be, and the smoother that's going to look.
And you've gotten to see that progression happen in people time and time again.
Yeah, and I
right?
think the other thing too is building up their self-esteem and self-confidence. These kids are the ones that typically are poke and prodded, or always being observed of what they're doing wrong and trying to be corrected, where I'm trying to be like, hey, like, let's see what you're doing. Let's give you more practice, and, give you a lot of praise and make it fun. Make it fun. So the biggest thing is, some of the success stories we hear is Ryan, like, so-and-so just finally walked up on the bus stairs independently for the first time in their life, getting on the bus independently, that kind of stuff.
huge.
Or, Ryan, my son, like, we had to give him a Fitbit, and he makes sure he gets his steps every day, even if that's us going on a family walk later in the day. We have to go too, which is awesome, because that's the big
Yeah.
thing, right? Is really,
Yes.
I mean, anytime you work with kids in general, like, it's always about having a total family buy-in, and that's always been huge. So I always try to make it where, really getting where the parents are eating healthier, because that's going to obviously trickle down to the kids, where the parents, no kid's going to really want to exercise that they don't see their parents making it a priority as well.
Yeah, talk to us about some of the things you do with the parents. I know you do a lot of seminars, and you are really good about getting parents involved,
Yeah.
which is so important.
Yeah, so what we do is we track all of our workouts with the online app. So the parents will also have
Cool.
have access to that.
Okay.
And that will have a written description, pictures, and video of all the exercises.
Oh, wow.
So they can actually see that and do it at home. The reality of it is, most of them don't, right? So, but that's one avenue that we try to branch out and help them out that way.
Yep.
We do a lot of stuff nutrition-based, trying to get the parents to eat healthier, knowing that that's going to trickle down.
Yep.
And then also, like, that's been the great part about the partnerships we have with all of our facilities, is that we also, we exclusively train individuals with special needs. So if Loren was to come to me and ask me, hey, Ryan, like, will you train my son or daughter, right, that has this diagnosis? Absolutely. And then, but I'm like, well, Loren, like, who are you seeing? What are you doing right now? Let me introduce you to this trainer at this facility so you guys can work out at the same time. And really kind of build that family dynamic too. Because also the kid knows, like I said, the kid will know that it's more important once the parent sets the example itself.
Totally.
That's great.
Yes.
So you mentioned trainers. How many trainers do you have working with you now?
So I have one other full-time currently, and then a couple part-time trainers too.
So that must be a little bit more difficult to find someone that has the skill set to be able to work with people with special needs.
Yeah.
Is it harder, or is there something you look for in somebody? Like that's the quality.
Yeah, I think that's usually one of the biggest questions that we get asked as far as, Ryan, what do you look for, right?
Yep.
And do you look for a certain certification? Do you look for certain background within the special needs population? And actually, I think that I can train, or people can be trained to be a personal trainer. You can take a test and pass a certification.
Yep.
You can do a lot of things within the personal training field. Even the same thing being said, if you work with like a certain within a certain therapy field or something like that. My main thing is hiring people with a big heart, with patience, and that knowing that they're there for the right reason, and that they're coachable. I don't want to hire someone that has a big heart, that's there for the right reason, but thinks they know it all. And I want to be collaborative with them. And I think that, if you guys were working with us, that you're obviously going to have your own interaction with the clients and own relationship with the clients, as you should.
Right.
And I don't want you to exactly mimic how I do it, because it's so unique, right? And if otherwise you're just creating robots, and no one likes, working with a robot. So, the ideology behind everything should be similar. The way that you work with a client should be very similar. But we can teach you that piece. But your heart and your mind has to be in the right place first. So that's really what we look for. Now I've been gifted with some very awesome trainers.
They're amazing, you guys. These are like the best humans every single trainer that I've met of yours, I'm just like, you're amazing. They're amazing. You do a wonderful job.
Really
they're pretty awesome. They really are, and they're brilliant too. So so Emily, our full-time trainer up in Vancouver, she's incredible. Yeah, so you guys met her when you guys did the workshop up there. And so she has her CSCS as well, so the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist through the NSCA. Actually, we just brought on a part-time trainer who's actually the head strength and conditioning coach at Lewis & Clark.
Oh, cool.
So her background speaks for itself.
Nice.
So she's in charge of all 19 varsity sports at Lewis & Clark. And then also she gets to see all of our clients.
Yeah, she's very familiar. Yep.
And now she gets to train some of them too. So she's an awesome fit. But yeah, so they're also, not only they're amazing people, but they're also very knowledgeable and very accredited within the field as well.
Amazing. Okay, talk to us about nutrition. You are a huge proponent of nutrition for everyone, but you do a very good job at explaining it to kids and really breaking it down in a very easy way. So talk to us more about what you're doing with them.
Well, yeah, the first, trying to get them off the fast food. I guess is the number one thing, right?
Taking stuff out.
Right, taking stuff out.
It's not adding new stuff, it's taking stuff away.
It's really taking things away first. Now, the issue you run into with this population is there's a lot of sensory stuff, and there's a lot of food rigidity, where, a lot of times their taste, they're gonna be very rigid, and they they only will eat certain food. It's very texture based, or even smell. Going back to Ben again, he hates pickles. Even if he smells pickles, he'll throw a fit, you know, and something that, is always working on. He's more of a drama queen now than he used to be. It's not that big a deal. But I used to every once in a while I'll bring in a pickle just to kind of mess with him and give him a little hard time, and because like I said, he's like a little brother to me now. But yeah, just things like that, and really more about just getting them to eat healthier overall. So it's usually changing what they're putting in instead of really taking or adding anything in necessarily. It's really more of taking things out, like the fast food and the processed food. A lot of our clients are very they love their carbs in general, you know, and who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Right? All right. So a lot of pasta, a lot of pizza, a lot of, you know, a lot of fried food. But a lot of that too comes from changing the overall family dynamic. So that has a lot to do with it. So what I always recommend is having families just keep track for a week, just keep a food journal, and then we kind of make recommendations based on that. A lot of it, like I said, a lot of it's trying to take things out. Or if that's something that we probably can't do, then we just try to increase the colors that they eat throughout the day.
Increase the colors.
So so you know, just like you know, I've heard you guys say it before, eat the rainbow. A lot of stuff on your the stories and stuff like that. I'm a firm believer in that as well. And really just setting small goals, right? Doing those baby steps. So maybe they're only eating one color throughout the day, right? Try, you know, especially if it's a lot of starches, it's gonna be a lot of white. You know, and try to increase that. So like, okay, like how can we increase this without eating candy, right? Because that's the first thing. Like, well, Ryan, if I eat Skittles, no, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Literally eating the rainbow.
So doing that kind of stuff, trying to increase the color intake, and that'll usually kind of take care of itself for the most part, and kind of doing those little goals to kind of over time add up to, you know, big changes.
And what are some of the changes you've seen when they start to eat healthier?
They sleep better.
I
mean, the changes that you see are going to be the same as, you know, if we did it, right? If you or I will eat healthier, and you know, they're going to sleep better, better mood, they're not as lethargic, have more energy, you know, a lot. I mean, all this, like, same thing. It's not going to affect them in a whole lot different way, because you know, but they're, you know, I mean, it's really very similar. I think that's the piece that gets overlooked a lot, where everyone thinks they're different. And their brains are wired differently in a lot of ways. But their bodies are just the same, you know. And so that's the thing I always tell people too, is we're not really revolutionizing the way you exercise. Your body only moves in so many ways. We're not making up new exercise that you can do. I mean, people try to do that all the time, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you go that way. It's more of the interaction, more of the understanding, more of understanding how the brain works. We have a lot of clients that are very literal thinkers, right? So if we were like, okay, like Loren, try to touch the ceiling. Well, like, no, Ryan, that's impossible. There's no way I can touch the ceiling. You're right. Here, try to touch my hand. And being very quick on that, where you don't really miss you don't miss a beat. You understand, you know, that they're very literal. You're like, okay, you're right, Loren. There's no way we're gonna touch the ceiling right now.
Never thought of it that way. So that's a misconception that like that taking things a little bit literally. There's going to be a couple of things that are a little bit different when speaking to people with different special needs. And I'm sure there's some misconceptions, a lot of misconceptions out there about what they can do, how to talk to people with special needs. Is there one misconception that you've just seen blown out of the water?
I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of stereotypes out there, and I think the biggest thing that people are always afraid of the unknown. And it's really, so I wouldn't say there's anything that's been blown out of the water. I just think that you should treat any person like a human being. And you do that, you'll see a lot of great results, right? So I think that's been the biggest thing, is just giving them, instilling the self-confidence and self-esteem, and showing them that you genuinely care about them. I mean, our clients are genuinely the sweetest people you'll ever meet.
So nice.
Oh, they're awesome.
So nice.
They're awesome. And, you know, the best part about it too is, I think as working in the field, you know, you get a lot of people that come to, like, as a typical personal trainer, and I just see this when I work with the athletes at Lewis and Clark. You know, you get a typical 18, 19-year-old football player, right? Male, filled with testosterone, and they don't think they know everything. So you try to coach them up on technique or breathing or whatever, and they might, you know, some of them are, you know, they'll take it, but at the same time, there's a lot of them that say, screw you, like, I'm gonna do me, right? And they're like, well, I'm just trying to help you. That's it. I'm not trying, you know, I'm not gonna do anything to hurt you, or that I shouldn't, as what my job is, but I'm just trying to make you better. Where our clients, if you know, you tell them to breathe a certain way, they're gonna do it. If you tell them to, you know, focus on a certain thing, they're gonna do it, and they really, they listen. They're great listeners, and you know, I guess the biggest thing going back to that is a big misconception in the field is, especially with autism, that people with autism lack empathy. That's usually a big thing within the field, and it's a big misconception. I mean, you look at it, and just because some of them have a hard time recognizing facial expressions or knowing, you know, the social interactions and stuff like that, and they might not understand that you're upset at a certain time, or, you know, but if you tell them, hey, Loren, what you just did really made me upset. Oh, like, I'm so sorry. Like, how can I make sure that doesn't happen? Are you okay? Like that kind of thing. So That's huge. Like I said, they're the sweetest clients, and they're the sweetest people and individuals in general. And I mean, that's one of the biggest things I think would be a myth blown out of the water, if anything.
That's awesome.
So you've got Lewis and Clark, Vancouver, Hillsborough.
Yep.
Soon to be
Bend.
And then
Soon to be Bend.
where else from here? Like what
What's
else? I
Soon to
know
be Bend.
you have big ideas.
Soon to be Bend. Soon to be Bend. So we're also on the east side as well. We do have a location in Southeast Portland.
Yes.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Vancouver and Lewis and Clark are both full-time places, and then Hillsborough and our Southeast location are both more of 1 to 2 days a week now as we continue to grow them. But yeah, then Bend. Then Bend's kind of the big one that's coming up and starting there in September. So we'll start there 1 day a week, just like we've started everywhere else, and kind of grow it as we need to, and as the market dictates. But yeah, so Bend. I really see myself going more of the consulting route, especially after speaking with other professionals in the field and looking at, the logo and the name's trademarked now, which is super awesome.
Which, if you guys don't know, is a pain.
It's a super pain. It's a big pain, right? And so I initially got those done to look at franchising and versus licensing and seeing the difference between those two options. And after speaking to people, that's neither one of those are the route that we're going to go. So what we're going to do is probably do more consulting, helping other people. Like as much as I would love to help everyone,
right?
You can't, right? And so there's people, on the East Coast, there's people, in Florida, there's people in Texas, there's people in Alaska, there's people everywhere that have the same heart and want to do great things for this community, but they don't know where to start. I mean, I had no idea where to start.
Where can they start?
Right, so that's the big thing. I always my go-to advice is volunteering for the community that you're wishing to serve, because one, it gives you direct experience working with that community, and it might change your mind. You might say, you know what, like, no, not for me, or it might be like, you know what, like, I really want to focus on this one niche, right, instead of just kind of keeping it broad. But that's really, just if you're looking at starting something like we have, then definitely that regard. But I think a lot of the strong business advice anywhere is going to apply to any business, right? Yep. It's kind of very broad in general. But yeah, so I'd have them volunteer for a lot of their local nonprofits, get a feel, start working in that industry and working with those people in the population, because the people have to know that your heart's in the right place before they want to come see you anyway. Yep. Right. So for me, it was really showing my face in a lot of organizations, a lot of places, and volunteering. And then all of a sudden, then that conversation is going to naturally come up as you start talking with people, right? Oh, Ryan, like, what do you do? Oh, hey, this is my business. This is what we're end up doing. Yep. And then they're like, oh, okay. They see you in a different light that way, and they kind of see you. And that's when they want to make that connection with you as well, as far as on a more professional level, not just the volunteer level.
So where can people find you, and how can they get started?
Yeah, so pretty big on social media.
He's pretty big.
We have a large following. We do a lot of stuff on social media.
Slightly large.
So yeah, so Instagram, so at Specialty Athletic Training on Instagram, and then on Facebook as well. Okay. Those are kind of the big two go-tos. They can always go visit our website. Click to contact us. And the other thing is, no matter what you do, and you send us a DM, you send us a message on Facebook, it goes straight to me. So I'll be the one responding. Yep. And same thing with the email. You go to contact us, it goes straight to me as well. So it'll be definitely a personal interaction. That's kind of how you find out more about us, see what we're doing. I think the social media piece is huge. As far as the Instagram's probably our biggest place where people can actually get a really good feel of what we're doing. They can kind of see the stories on the feed, and then also I feel like we do a good job of making it where it's kind of behind the scenes stuff where you can see our clients in action with our trainers and stuff.
Oh, definitely.
On the stories. So I'd say go to Instagram, Facebook, and then also send us an email. So
awesome. Perfect. I love it. So this last part is rapid fire questions. I warned you about this. It's 30 seconds. Fun questions about you that Loren and I will ask. Yeah. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I gotta get my timer out. Don't be nervous.
All right, let's do it.
It's not super personal.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, and go to workout.
Go to workout. This is more of a rapid fire. Go to workout. Where do I go to workout, or like
cardio, weight training, HIIT?
Weight training.
Well, ruin my first questions. How much do you lift, bro?
Depends on the year.
Okay.
Dream vacation.
I love Mexico.
Ooh.
Have you ever done the limbo?
Yes, not very well.
Favorite animal?
It's gotta be my dog, Tubbs.
Which is so cute. He's the best. Is there anything else you want to leave us with today that we should know about specialty athletics?
Or any events coming up that we can help support?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think any upcoming events. We're gonna be doing an open house in Bend here in the next couple months.
Cool.
Just for people to come check us out and see that facility. We have trying to think of any upcoming events. We don't really have any. We'll be at
the golf event.
So that's for the Autism Society of Oregon. So we'll have a golf event at the Autism Society of Oregon. Not necessarily specialty athletic training related, but yeah, absolutely come out and golf.
Yeah.
But we'll also be at the Nike Youth Games. We're at the Nike Youth Games year in, year out at Nike, that when they partner with Special Olympics. So we'll be there. So come and swing by and say hi. That's always in September.
Cool.
I'm trying to think what else. We're in the works of doing something with partnering with Kabuki Strength and doing a powerlifting meet for the Special Olympics athletes. So that's something that's also in the works right now. But yeah, I mean,
super cool.
I'll make sure you guys get more information on that kind of stuff as it comes out for sure.
Yeah, we'll post it in the show notes and everything.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys all for listening. If you have any questions for Ryan, please comment below. We will answer them later. And Loren, anything else?
I know so much more about you now. I thought I knew you before. I didn't know anything before. That was awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. Megan, any highlights that you've taken away from this?
Exercise is the same. It should be no different. It's the exact same. They can do it all. Just takes more practice, and they will
focus on what you're interested in.
Yep, and focus on what you're interested in.
I think everybody can take a little tidbit from that, because we all try to I got to get into the gym 5 days this week.
Yep.
What if you're just taking an urban hike?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's that quality of life.
Yeah, it really is. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
It really helps.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Meaningfull Podcast.
Make sure to hit subscribe, because every time you do, a baby elephant gets its wings.
And if you want to be the first to get updates whenever we release a new video, click the bell button to turn on notifications.
Thank you so much for watching.